Power to the truth. I want to express myself here on the subject of fear. F-E-A-R. It can be a complex subject, so we'll try to simplify the complex, not complicate the simple. I will try to be as honest as I can. As a rule, I do not have any script or teleprompter. I express myself from my being. I'm a humane being. Especially from my heart. Not just the mortal mind. The mind is grossly overrated. Let me lower this a little bit. I think when I'll leave the link to this in the description. Fear comes in many forms. As a rule in life, there in phenomena, what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and much of what we think in our consciousness, there are positive and negative qualities to life. No one is all bad or all good. There are often dimensions and degrees to stuff. When we speak about fear, we can speak about natural, normal fear, like say a fear of death. Many people have a fear of death, and it may be the greatest fear. To me, or for me, I fear dying in a dumb way, a stupid death, a meaningless death. The madman Mao said that death can vary in its significance. So I strive to live an honest, creative, meaningful life. And death can often surprise us, especially when we have a death in the family. I lost my beloved brother Bobby López, April 8th, and that was a shock at first. In fact, I didn't even realize it was a shock until later on. It was certainly a surprise at first, and then I realized that, man, I went into a bit of a shock there, because it was unexpected, and it was just off the wall, and may he rest in peace. So, for many, death is the greatest fear. People are afraid to die. And this is understandable. So, fear, scientifically, whatever that means. Fear can be a survival mechanism for us to create changes in our system, in our body, that gives us the drive. We can have a fight or flight syndrome, or a fight or flight behavior. And fight or flight, I can understand. Yeah, sometimes we just need to go with the flow of whatever's happening. And we can have like a sudden fear of something, like you almost fall, and then then you catch yourself and you straighten yourself, then that fear goes away. I believe right now, as I am in connected reality, that we suffer from many fears. My interest is in global liberation as I strive to work on my own personal spiritual liberation. A big fear that people have is the fear of evil. Fear of the Matrix. And when we understand the source of our fear, that takes some of the fear away. If not completely, it takes away the bulk of that fear, because we understand it. When we were small, we were afraid of the boogeyman, or Chicanos, the Kukui. And so we need to look at, what is evil? To me, evil is a force in the world, same as good, that runs in reaction to life, in reaction to goodness. Understand that, as a rule, everything is relative and nothing is absolute. For us to believe in the existence of evil, to realize that we're not all living with rainbows and butterflies, to realize the existence of evil, puts us in a position to consider what are we going to do about it. I consider what I call the evil empire, spearheaded by the American Empire, to be evil. It is counter life. It is counter nature, and it is destroying Mother Earth through its greed, through its violence. And we need to raise our consciousness in order to stimulate action in the direction of getting rid of the evil empire. We need to do that without fear. Another acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. What I love is when the Egyptian people, when they had their first revolutionary movement towards getting rid of Mubarak, and they gathered in their many thousands, millions. Once they were able to overcome their fear of the Mubarak regime, once they understood the power that collectively they had, It was just a matter of time before Mubarak would be swept away. So I have faith in the people. I believe when we have faith in ourselves, faith in the people, and faith in our potential, then we can start to combat that fear. Where we figure, we can do this. There's like how many billion of us, and we need to understand, analyze, and discuss our fears, without shame. For those who consider themselves being fearless, with no fear, they're either insane or they're kidding themselves. Depending upon the situation and the factors involved, fear could be a natural survival defense mechanism. It's when we have a fear that becomes a paranoid fear that there's damage there. The fascist regime, which you know as your U.S. government, this fascist rogue regime stimulates fear, and it wants people to be kept in a state of fear, a state of insecurity, so that it can come across as the great protector. Notice how Obama brags about, we got the strongest military in all of human history. Big deal. Big deal. Why don't we have the most humane government in all of human history? Remember, this country was founded upon the double genocide. And the U.S. has a long history of killing millions of people. We'll leave a link here to Zinn's People's History of the USA online. It's amazing how so many people haven't even bothered to read it. Amazing. So we need to combat fear in the context of any fear of fascism, and in the context of fear about the consequences of our rebelling, fear about the repercussions of repression against us. No one gets out of life alive, that I've noticed. Someone that does tell them to send me an email or tweet me. So we need to see that there's a natural fear, and then there's a conditioned fear. And many have a fear of freedom, fear of truth. So we're not going to get rid of all our fear. You learn to live with fear at one level or another, from one perspective or another, and you still carry on. That's good. I suspect many so-called heroes, in combat, they were feared shitless at the time, but they still carried on. They still fought. So we overcome our fear by fighting back against fascism, by speaking out against the evils of the day. By freeing ourselves with the power of the people. And not being afraid of expressing our emotions. Not being afraid of exposing ourselves. Not being afraid of NSA. And that's why I think people who cling to being anonymous, to me, there's a cowardly element there. You know, it could be Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. So, I am not afraid. I don't walk around in paranoid fear. I certainly am not afraid of American fascism. You know, I am aware of the evils that it causes, of the misery that it causes. So continue to analyze fear as I will, and have faith, have courage, be not afraid, with love in your heart. Love is power. Thank you for your time and attention. Be brave. Namaste.